Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Paddle and Flow, episode 6, and later down the line you're going to hear another episode 6 because we'll put these in a different order. Nicola and I are here. Hello Nicola.
Hi Alex, how are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
I've been out on the paddle, but we'll get to that in just a moment. In this episode we're going to talk about our we're going to reply to your comments. We've had loads of comments, Nicola.
We have.
So in this episode, we're going to talk through some of the comments, some of the ones that need maybe a bit of a longer reply. Nicola's very good at writing replies to comments, and I am not. Nicola's comments are quite long, and my replies are quite short.
Yes, but at least you're getting the notifications on YouTube, which I am not getting, so it's balancing out. Oh, yeah.
We'll get there.
You do reply.
I do reply. I just reply with like 3 lines. Whereas you had a brilliant reply to someone the other day. I read it, I was like, that was really good.
Wow.
I'd rather just do it on here. I'm lazy.
The lazy option.
So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about a paddle that I had the other day and just kind of chat as we usually do.
And we're going to talk about the fact I've not had a paddle.
I know. That's quite sad.
It is. Go.
Thank you very much for watching and or listening, depending on what device you're on. As always, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And we've actually had some really good engagement and follows across all the platforms. We're 3 weeks in.
We are.
And we've got over 50 followers.
It's amazing.
And people commenting left, right, and centre. So
fans
of the pod. Yeah, fans is maybe pushing it. People who are interested in what we have to say
for some peculiar reason.
Yeah. So, Nicola, where will we start?
With your paddle.
With my paddle.
It has to be your paddle.
I say so too often. My paddle. So as you know, if you've been following along with the podcast, I hurt my back falling down the stairs, and I wasn't able to paddle in some glorious weather that we had a few weeks ago, that you were out in.
It wasn't really glorious.
You're just saying that because I've seen the pictures. I found the video footage from my wife, and there was a beautiful fog bow.
It was a fog bow.
I think so. I've had a look.
First fog bow I've ever seen. So it's a little bit. Is that a rainbow? Is it a fog bow? But it didn't have the colour spectrum to be a full rainbow.
Yeah, I've had a look. I think it's a fog bow, but it was glass, and I wasn't out there. However, this week, finished work, finished night shift, got up, and thought, right, the weather is flat, the sea is calm, time to go for a paddle. So I got on my new dry suit, which I have purchased as a wee gift to my new job, new dry suit.
I like that thinking.
Yeah, however, it's also going to be new job, new kayak. But it'll be the same job. It'll just take a bit longer.
Yeah.
So new job, new dry suit. Bought my dry suit. It arrived. It's a Gull Dartmouth. It has neoprene feet, which is a little odd, and I'm a bit worried about rubber feet. And I'm a bit worried about spiking them with a hook, because obviously I mostly do kayak fishing, and I'm in a sit on top. So in a sitting kayak, it'll be fine. I'm not worried about them. But when I'm in a sit on top, I'm a little bit worried about hooking through my sock.
What are you going to put on the top of the socks to protect them?
Good question. So, a big debate, I suppose, about that. We had a big debate on the podcast about that recently as well.
I would be less worried about damaging the latex and more about getting a hook in your foot.
Oh, I'm not worried about getting a hook in my foot.
Oh.
It does happen sometimes. I think that I am going to put, and you can look at my feet today because I've not got holes in my socks. I think I wear thick socks underneath, so I've got some smart wool socks.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cosy. Then I've got the latex jelly, whatever that is, the rubber bit. And then I think it's going to be a case of another sock and then a shoe.
Right.
So when I was out the other day, if you look at my video on my YouTube channel, which I'll link below, I wore some just sandals. I did try and wear Crocs. I have some surgical Crocs, like for theatres.
Okay.
So when they're in theatres, they wear these white Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some white sort of surgical Crocs. They're sealed. There's no holes in them. I thought I'd try wearing those, but I couldn't get my foot in the space because of all the gubbins around my foot.
They don't sound very fashionable.
They're definitely not. My theatre Crocs, they're not fashionable. I actually had forgotten I owned them.
Cut them out. I cut those out of your video.
Yeah. No, I didn't wear them in the end because
Right.
I couldn't get my foot in them.
Right.
They'd have been warm though
Yeah.
because they're sealed.
Because they're sealed up.
But I instead just wore some sandals, just like walking sandals. I call them my
Yeah.
belay shoes.
Yeah.
They're the
another one
shoes I
too.
put on to belay when I take my climbing shoes off
Mhm.
because I can't stand in my climbing shoes because I've got
Oh.
aggressive climbing shoes, pointy ones. So I normally put on these other shoes. So I just wore those. They dry really fast. They're comfy. They slip on. They go on over 5 layers of socks. So I wore those. And then I had my woolly bear on. I had layers. I was layered to the nines because it was freezing. Which was the reason you didn't come.
No, the reason I didn't come was because I fell off my bike and hurt my shoulder the day before.
And how is your shoulder?
It's easing, yeah, but it completely froze up. Well, it didn't completely freeze up again, but it significantly froze again for a few days, but it is easing.
Good.
So I'm
It's
hoping,
easing.
yes.
That's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
I was very worried when you said you fall off your bike. So yeah, so I went down to White Sands. Now, if you live in East Lothian, then you will know this, and if you don't live in East Lothian, then you probably have a similar experience of this, which is that East Lothian Council hate people that do water sports, I've decided. They are anti anyone with a vehicle that is not a small car.
Yep.
So my van, which is a high roof Mercedes to start with, doesn't fit underneath the high roof barriers. So I haven't actually paddled at White Sands for well over a year because to go to White Sands for me, I've got to park about a 10-minute walk away and then walk the kayak, which for you who walks your kayaks, 15 minutes to get to the beach every day, every time you want to paddle, is fine. But for me, I mean, my kayak weighs 40 kilos loaded.
Yeah, your kayak's a wee bit different to mine.
And it's heavy. And
Yeah.
then you've got to huff it over the beach and over the dunes, and
Yeah.
it's a bit of a faff to get to White Sands.
Yeah, it is.
But the actual paddling is stunning. The fishing is terrible, really bad,
No, yeah.
horrendous fishing.
You've heard
Nobody should fish there ever.
No.
No,
No.
I don't think
No
I don't think I've
fish.
ever gone there and not caught a fish. That's how
Don't-
bad. the
don't you
fishing
mean
is.
You don't think you've ever gone there and caught a
Oh
fish?
yes, I don't think. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Yes, I don't think I've
Yes.
ever gone there and caught a fish. Nobody
No.
should fish there.
I read something about White Sands being like fish free.
Fish free.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly when we snorkeled there was nothing.
There was nothing.
No.
We didn't see
a single anything.
a single anything. We didn't see any lobsters.
No.
Not 20 lobsters in one day.
No.
Um,
So, but it's a
So,
nice
yeah.
place above the water.
beautiful place.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
lovely place to paddle, and it was really calm. So talked a little bit about hydrology. Interestingly, about how you can read the waves on the beach, and you can see what the reef's doing because there's 2 big reefs at White Sands. So for those of you listening, White Sands is like a sort of horseshoe-shaped bay, and there's these 2 sort of outcroppings that come out, and there's like a little narrow channel down the middle. And if there's swell, they can really build on that beach. And we've talked about this on the podcast before about my experience at White Sands with Russell, where there was a big storm came in and the sea got really big and the sea started breaking on those reefs, but we managed to nip through the gap in the middle. So in swell, it's not a safe place to paddle, but this day was gorgeous, sun. The only thing about White Sands from a filming point of view is that the sun doesn't always point in the right direction, so it's quite difficult to light yourself on the...
It's really,
terrible.
It's dreadful.
So the paddle I had was an absolute disaster. It was flat cam, it was glass, there was not a breath of wind. Headed out. Actually, once I broke the other side of the reef, there was a little bit of swell that was just kind of milling around from the storms that we've been having, but it was fine. So paddled out there. So I paddled about 5k-ish. I didn't paddle that far really. I did about 4 fishing drifts. I caught 2 very, very small cod. I mean, like proper, tiny cod. A pollock, which was unusual in that time of year in that place. And 2 coalfish, which there's always loads of coalfish around. So, yeah, it was a nice paddle. It was nice to get out. My back was okay. It didn't get sore. Unlike the paddle that you and I had done the week before.
Yeah.
Which, have we talked about that on the podcast as well? I don't think we have. Yeah, you and I had that paddle on the 6th of December.
Which was hugely exciting because it was the day that RFA Proteus came to visit the boat. The Royal Fleet Auxiliary boat,
And what
which
did it
you were
do?
not excited
I'm
about.
not excited about that at
all.
It's a boat. It's not orange and blue. If it was orange and blue, I might have been interested.
I had a little orange one come in from it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
It did.
A little dropped off some people onto shore.
Yeah.
They probably nipped up to the co-op.
It was going to drop them on the wrong side of the bridge because the bridge is still broken. So they pulled in and, yeah.
That would have been funny.
That would have been interesting. Yeah. What does it do? What do they do? They support the Royal Navy and the Royal Marines. Basically, it does the same job as the oil and gas industry boats.
Gives them food.
Semi-submersibles.
Semi-submersibles?
No, take out the semi. What is that?
A semi-submersible?
Yeah. No, the remote operated vehicles. Stop looking at me.
ROVs?
Yes. Submersibles. Underwater drones.
Ah. Do they? Oh.
In
So for like minesweeping?
Waters of interest.
And waters
So
of
we must
interest.
have interesting waters.
Maybe they were looking for something. Maybe the Russians had been to visit in their sub and had popped something where they shouldn't have.
Let's hope not.
Surveying underwater cables, maybe. Because obviously we now have some very important electric underwater cables running from the wind farms to the shore.
Yeah.
So perhaps they were just scouting those, having a look.
Wrong place.
Oh.
They come in further down the coast.
They come in further down the coast. All right.
But
They're not coming out at Kenzie?
no. They come in at Torness.
I've got that wrong.
And yeah, because they dug a big trench right up across many a field.
Yeah, they did. Good point. So
Right, anyway.
that was the boat. My back got really sore. It was a bit choppy. I was going to summarise that pedal.
Yeah,
we went
I
out
was
the harbour
scared.
and it was choppy and you were scared.
I was scared.
Yeah,
I was
I
not
felt
a
a bit
happy
guilty.
bunny. Did you? Good.
Because I was like just bobbing around in my tank.
And I was like, I think because my shoulder was a little bit iffy still. It was quite, yeah. And it was windier than it was supposed to be.
It was a lot windier than it was supposed to be. The forecast weather window was due to start at 11.
Yeah.
And I don't think it started until at least half 11, 12. And we were on the water at 11.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was windier than expected. And then it just dropped to nothing and it was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sang Christmas carols? I have some footage of you singing Christmas carols.
Did, and then I remembered I was being recorded, so stop.
I don't know if I ever saved the recording off the microphone for that paddle. I do have a picture of your face though. So there's a chance I might have saved it. My footage was all garbled. So I don't know if I ever went and saved your footage because my footage I pressed the wrong button and recorded a time lapse.
I'm not going to comment on that at all.
Because you and I, obviously this podcast that we're doing today, we're sitting here in my office with some lights and some cameras. But actually, the podcast is supposed to be recorded on the water. That was what we discussed. We discussed how we were going to do it on the water. And then we got one little paddle as a test, which went okay. And then we did another one, which I pressed the wrong button for. So we didn't get any of that footage. And my back was sore and it really wasn't worth recording. We didn't really chat about anything because my back was so sore. Other than my lazy paddle back in to the harbour, which you told me off for.
Oh, yeah, because you look like, don't know, you're on some kind of Sunday stroll or something. Leaning back.
I had the best seating position on a kayak ever. I was laid right back, had my feet out over the edge of the boat, just sort of hanging out to the side. I looked like I should have had a beer in hand, just drifting down a lazy river in a theme park.
Beer in each hand.
Beer in each hand.
Or beer and a hot dog.
As I said, if I had a pedal drive...
Cooler. No.
If I had a pedal drive, I could have had a beer and a hot dog. I'd have been sorted.
And that would be the end of Paddle and Flow podcast.
And that would be the end of Paddle and Flow podcast.
Pedal and Flow.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas instead, I have to use... my back was really sore though. It was a really good position for my back.
Yeah.
Much, much better than...
Yeah, you'd had enough by then.
Yeah. And we'd only been out an hour. But that wind was quite hard to push out through. I think that was what was bothering me, was the wind. Like the wind, the amount of force I needed to put through my upper body was far too much. But the wind settled, we had a nice paddle, you sang some Christmas carols, life was good. Moving on, because we've dribbled for far too long on this topic.
Talk for yourself.
I have dribbled far too long. On that note,
Yes.
I think an apology, is it an apology? I don't know what people will think because the episode goes live on Sunday. It's Friday today, and on Sunday an episode is going live, which is part 2 of episode 5, which is me discussing the Dunning-Kruger effect and the sort of safe zone, stretch zone, panic zone discussion.
Yes.
And I realised 2 things. One, I cut over you a couple of times, so I apologise for that. I just talked over you, so I was excited. So I apologise.
Do I say anything in this next episode? A couple
Not
of...
very much.
Yeah, right. Just nod. And then you talked over me. Right, okay, apology.
And the other thing to talk
Accepted.
about is that I'm hoping it makes sense because I'm editing it just now. I'm just about finished editing it. And it is a bit of a ramble. I think it does make sense, but I get far too excited.
It's your thing.
It is my thing, and I do get very excited about it, but I think I got a little bit... I think probably because that was the episode we filmed, we were both really tired because I think I'd been post-night shift or post a really busy set of shifts, and we filmed it the next day, so I was definitely tired, and it definitely impacted my ability to speak coherently. So hopefully you enjoy that, but the bottom line is, one of the things you said that I wanted to respond to that I talked over before
Sorry.
was we talked about sort of panic and that sort of panic zone, and about how you can't learn in that panic zone. And that was really the summary.
Yes. Yeah.
Which brings us nicely on to some of the comments that we've had
Yes.
from our episodes. And Christian's comment. Christian has left lots of comments, so thank you very much, Christian, for engaging with us. And you've read most of those because they've been on Facebook, and I'm not so good at keeping up with the Facebook comments. Is that where you want to start, or do you want to start with someone else?
No, we can start with that. Yep.
Go for it.
Right. Thank you. See, I'm crap at this, Alex.
No, you're not. You're fine.
I could be better.
You could be better. But that is the point of the Dunning-Kruger effect, is that you could be better. Because at the bit I'm editing just now, I'm going on a rant about how it's really important to get yourself into the valley of despair as quickly as possible. And then you talk about the importance of support. And what I wanted to talk about was coaching and how that's where you need a really good coach to get you through that bit. But I don't think I ever say that. I think I just get lost off on a tangent. There's a word that I found out yesterday. I'm not really very good at words, but I was sitting in a pub with like wordsmiths.
Ooh.
And they were like, "What's your favourite word?" And I was like,
That's exciting.
"I've had 2 pints. I don't know what my favourite word is. My favourite word is another pint, please." But one of my friends' favourite words is indubitably. I can't really say it. It's like It means going off course.
Don't hurt yourself, kid.
I know. It means going off course, and it sums up me.
Indubitably.
Yeah. You know the word. I'm really excited. I've never heard it before.
Oh, crikey, look at your little face lighting up.
And it describes me in that last podcast really, really well. Indubitably.
It's like an enemy.
Bless you.
Is it not just indubitably?
Indubitably, maybe.
Google.
You can search it.
Yeah.
But, so for those of you that listen to the last podcast, if that rant got a bit rambly and you didn't enjoy it, but you'd like to hear my opinions on that in a more coherent way, please let me know.
Sorry.
Go for it.
I'm just going to interrupt you all the time now that you, like, publicly apologised for interrupting me. That's like, wow. Right. Indubitable. Impossible to doubt. Unquestionable. Is that the one? No.
No. Going off course.
Right, you'll have to... We'll have to reconvene on that one.
Anyway.
Right. Right, so which leads nicely on to replying to comments.
To comments, yeah. So, thank you very much for those of you that have replied and discussed. Nicola has most of the comments sort of jotted down, or at least an idea of, I've seen you on your phone and your notepad writing some things down. So we'll start with Christian, because Christian flows really nicely on from the last podcast. So in the last podcast, I went on a bit of a ramble. I just got too excited, and as I said, I apologise to Nicola for interrupting you a couple of times.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Thank you. Where we've sort of got in a bit of a ramble about the importance of having good support networks and how it's important to have a good coach to help you get through the valley of despair, which was the bit we never said. I don't think we ever said that explicitly. So, but the Dunning-Kruger effect, and Christian who's a paddler and a paddle leader up in the north of Scotland, had some really good comments on it. So what did Christian say?
Yeah, Christian, sea kayak 59 degrees in Orkney. Christian said two things actually. He recommended, in terms of keeping hands warm, to use cozy pogies, as well I do, and you did until you gave yours away, and also open palm neoprene mitts underneath, which I actually sometimes do. And he was also addressing the question about does taking risks make you a better paddler, which is slightly different to our question, which was, does taking risks make you a good paddler, or do you have to be a good paddler to take...
Does taking risks make you a good paddler, as in do, and it's not make you as in make you better, it's you're not already a good paddler unless you take risks. Or you're already good and therefore you can take risks safely. That's kind of the debate we had, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So, I'm talking about stretching comfort zone. Basically, yeah, it makes sense. You know, you're gonna be stuck where you are, but if you got the support of coach, mentor, good paddle buddies that you trust and will help bring you on, you can put yourself into situations that you might not say you're... Because I think what I'm guilty of is I paddle on my own so much, I'm probably not pushing myself. Whereas if you're out with others, you're going to do more.
Yeah, and it's as we said in the last podcast, it's like this the period of time where I was surfing down that wave, those steep waves, and I was a bit uncomfortable. We discussed this in the podcast last week. Yeah, I was uncomfortable, but I was able to manage that situation. But I needed to be in that situation in order to improve. But I was safe because I was with you. If I'd been on my own in that situation, would it have been risky? Yes. Would I have learnt from it? Maybe not as much. And I think that was the big that was the debate we were having on the podcast. So it's great to hear, Christian's opinion on that. And he has, so thank you very much, Christian, for sharing your opinion, and thank you for following along and watching. Yeah. You've said some really nice things about the podcast, and we really appreciate you coming along, and we'll maybe see if we can come up and maybe go up to Orkney and have a paddle and film it.
That would be amazing.
Watch this space when we get the budget.
On my list of places I'd love to go to anyway.
So no, thanks for those comments, and I totally agree with you, and you've left those comments on the episode before the one where I go on my rant about the Dunning-Kruger effect and panic and stretch. So it's really great to hear that you have a similar view to me on that. So thank you very much. Who else has given us some comments? Karen, we've left you the link for Cozy Pogies down below. I know that you were asking for those. So Cozy with a K, Pogies. And Cozy Pogies, I think, now follow us. So if you are following us,
Rose Baird, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you're not following us, then start. Paddle and Flow, sponsored by Cozy Pogies. Not yet.
Optimist.
Optimist. I'll stick with my optimism, thank you.
Yes. And Valerie over in, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce where she lives. Canada. I can do Canada.
Saskatchewan.
That looks like how that's written. Yes.
Do you know what we've not talked about on this podcast at all? Bigfoot.
Oh, God. No.
That'll be in the future, Valerie. Thank you very much for prompting that conversation. In the future episode, Bigfoot and paddling. But that's not today. We're responding to Valerie.
Bigfoot doesn't kayak.
Well,
why do we need to talk about Bigfoot?
Why not?
Another one of Alex's exciting topics. Why don't we could rename
the podcast?
Alex's overexcitement.
I did say in the last we could do a mini series. Alex gets overexcited about.
I don't need
leadership, Dunning-Kruger effect, coaching, Bigfoot, snacks.
I'll just stay at home for those ones. You can do those. They can be a one-man show.
I need a reflection. I need a mirror.
I don't know if I'm insulted by that.
No, that was a compliment.
Was it?
Yeah, because you allow me to bounce ideas off you. You're like a wall, a sounding board.
So I've gone from being a mirror to a wall. Right, anyway. Okay, so yes, in response to the video that you shared from Barry and One Man in His Boat.
Yep.
Of the fog that came in the other day. Now that was interesting because I had my eye on paddling that day, and it was interesting because the sun rose and it was a beautiful sunrise, and one side of my house the church disappeared in the fog, and the other side, that was the day I went cycling and fell off my bike, because I went to chase the sun up in the hills and it was beautiful. But Valerie left a comment about storms where she lives. Thunderstorms don't only bring hail, but baseball-sized hail. Which I've only ever seen videos of. I can't imagine.
Being on the water, you need your helmet on for that one.
Yeah, well, she fortunately was just getting off the water and found a tree to hide underneath, but her boat was damaged.
Oh no. Is she a P&H paddler? Is she a...
No, she has a Delta.
Delta.
Very nice blue Delta that she takes beautiful photos of. And she has responded, but I haven't read the response yet, so sorry, I'll get to it.
So yeah,
so
thanks
Facebook,
for sharing your opinion on that as well. So from YouTube, we've got quite a long one from Charles, which would be good to reply to about a Scorpio.
Yes.
But I want to speak to Jerry for a minute.
Jerry.
So thanks, Jerry, for your comments. We really appreciate it. Although I haven't seen them personally, I know you've been messaging Nicola. And Jerry's not a paddler, but he still listens, so it's great to have him along, and hopefully he's finding it informative. However, we have made some mistakes, perhaps.
Omissions. Presumptions. Assumptions.
You know what happens when you presume? You know what happens when you assume? Do you know what happens when you assume?
No.
You make an ass out of you and me.
I thought it was going to be some snippet.
Yeah, so when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And presumption is the mother of all ups.
Well, we have done both of those things.
Totally true, and it is totally true. So, sorry, Jerry. So, a PLB is a personal locator beacon, which I know we have already answered because you asked us that like 3 weeks ago. But PLB is a personal locator beacon, and they work by sending a signal in two directions. So, there is a signal from the PLB to the sky, which is a GPS signal, and that sends on 406 megahertz. It goes up to the sky, bounces off a satellite, where it is sent to the nearest receiving centre. Which I don't ask me like what that means, but each PLB is registered. So then they go through a database and they will find the registered owner. They will find where you live, and they'll also next to kin details in there that they'll try and phone. And
details of the craft that they would be looking for.
So they can pass that information on to the relevant rescue services. Obviously here in the UK, that's most likely going to be either the Coast Guard or the RNLI. More likely to be the RNLI, just with where we live. But if you're in other parts of the world, you know, it might ping and it might go to some other people. There was a story about a man pinging
some other people.
Other rescue agencies. There was a story about a man pinging his PLB in a bothy on the Cairngorms because he was having a heart attack. And sort of horrendous chest pain, grey, sweaty, classic heart attack stuff. And he got picked up by mountain rescue, and that was all because he pinged a PLB. So PLB is not just necessarily for the sea, but they do locate you. Once that signal goes up to the sky, it depends on the model you have, but a lot of the models will continue sending a GPS signal. But they also have a lateral signal that comes out at 121.5 megahertz. So you've got a sky signal and then a lateral signal, and that can be picked up by a lot of direction finders. So, for example, the larger lifeboats have a DF, a direction finder on them, and you can tune that in, and that'll sort of point you in the direction of where it needs to go. Talking about lifeboats, there is a car pulling up at the front door. Tiny Stinger on YouTube, thank you very much for your comments. We know that you've had a bit of an incident in your boat recently, and we hope that you're getting better from that. Nicola showed me a picture of your hand, so I do hope that you're getting better from that. But thanks for your comments. You've left loads of comments. Hopefully this podcast can act as some sort of catharsism or insanity during your break from the water. But
help you fall asleep.
Or you might fall asleep. Yeah, it'll help you fall asleep. Absolutely. Clemmy, your orange boat, orange Virgo, I approve. I approve of an orange Virgo. That's definitely... Orange is going to be my colour, for sure. And you've left us loads of comments and that we really appreciate your support. So there was one that I wanted to reply to about the neoprene boots around your feet, and definitely thinking about what I'm going to wear over my dry suit, socks. And I talked about at the start of the episode that, you know, I had socks and then some sort of sandally shoes on. I think, you know, we both discussed that trainers and laces are always a bit of a worry for us in boats. So it's about how we keep our feet warm. Neoprene, you mentioned that, you know, sometimes that cold water gets stuck against your foot. I guess, you know, when we think about wetsuit boots, we obviously want that insulating layer, but if we've over warmed up our feet and the heat's not getting out to that water layer, then obviously that's going to keep us cold. So it's going to keep cooling us down. So it's about how we best do that. But I'm sorry to hear that you had your boat hit you on the head and you had your accident. So I hope you're feeling better soon. That's all I was going to say to you, Tiny Stinger. Not
Great name.
Tiny Tinger, which I thought it was, which was some euphemism. So I apologise, I misread it. Yeah, that's sort of the main comments I have. But thank you very much for engaging with us. You were going to speak to Charles.
Oh, Charles, yes, who left us some comments a few weeks ago now. Probably on the first episode.
Yeah, on the first episode. And the recent one about clothing as well.
Yeah, that's right. So the first one was about seat in the Scorpio. So hope you've had some success there with tweaking your seating position. Yeah, it's definitely an ongoing process. And clothing-wise, it's really handy to know what other people are wearing to keep warm and to stay warm. So, thank you.
Yeah, and good luck with your boat. I think I recently fitted a new backrest to my boat that I have had sitting for ages. It was a spare, and I can't get it in the right place at all.
Yeah.
But then I also have a back injury, so
could be.
You know, it's going to be difficult for me. But good luck. You know, it's worth it. It's a labour of love getting your seating right. But once you get it right, you know, you've had a few paddles in the Scorpio now since you fiddled with your seat. Are you feeling more comfortable?
Yeah, I'm going to take her out. I think the next weather day is Boxing Day, although you were talking about the 27th.
As far as I'm concerned, the 26th doesn't exist.
Oh.
No matter what the paddling conditions are like, I'm working. So I'm working Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and then I'm off.
It's just because it's really windy between now and Boxing Day. The wind just suddenly drops off into nothing. Yeah. And if that stays for a few days, that'll be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so we'll go paddle on the 27th.
Yay!
Maybe record a wee episode of a podcast.
Yeah.
A proper one on the water. Which, as we discussed somewhere on this video, that was what we were supposed to do. But
yeah. That was just bribery.
It was. I've got you in now. You're hooked.
I know. Caught. There's no escape.
So Charles, good luck. I think that's most of the comments that we needed to reply to.
It's the ones I have written down.
Yeah. But thanks for all the support. You know, Patrick, Felipe. I have something about Felipe for you.
Oh, the book.
The book.
Where's the book? We're supposed to be unboxing the book.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go and get it. I realised I meant to bring it upstairs after our last break. But Felipe, Karen, Tiny Stinger, not anything else. Patrick, thanks for all your support, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and everyone else who hasn't left like a public comment but has sent a little message or whatever.
There's been loads of support. There's been, you know, it's been coming in from all sorts of different angles. So please keep watching, listening, liking, following, subscribing, whatever buttons you need to press to let other people know that we exist. Share it with your paddling friends if you're enjoying it. Share it with your non-paddling friends if you're enjoying it. Yeah, and thank you for your support. And then, so I was going to bring it up as like I have a Christmas present for you.
Aww.
And I forgot to bring it upstairs.
Aww.
I left it downstairs. So I will nip downstairs and get it.
What a cheapskate.
So...
All the way from
the United States of America.
Dun, dun, dun. Sunny Florida.
It's one of those Felipe,
awesome envelopes with the wee
very
thing.
much. What was he saying?
It's one of those awesome envelopes, American envelopes. They have like that little thing that goes through it.
Are you supposed to do something with that?
Well, yeah, you push it together and it goes through. Oh, Alex, you've just...
I'm trying not to show my address to the world.
Fair enough.
Unless you want to send us things. Then
yes,
you can have my
I was
address.
going to say that. Subscribe, like, and send gifts.
No, we don't want people to send us gifts. Oh, brilliant. So, Felipe has sent us this.
Gorgeous. It looks...
As Santa, I will pass it to you. Obviously, I'm not Santa. Felipe is Santa. Felipe Behren has paddled around both the UK and Ireland and around Vancouver. He has a website called Around on My Kayak.
Shall I read the blurb?
Yes, go for it.
So, in May of 2022, Felipe Behren, sorry if I got that wrong, set off on a challenge to paddle his kayak around Vancouver Island. For an American from South Florida, used to sunshine, warm water and palm trees, paddling in the frigid and oftentimes stormy Pacific Northwest could hardly feel more different. His journey takes the reader on a 1,000-mile adventure of discovery, sprinkled with run-ins with colourful characters, encounters with wildlife, observations on the local geography and environment, and insights into Canadian and local BC culture from an outsider's perspective. This book is a tale that will enthrall both experienced paddlers and armchair adventurers alike. It looks gorgeous.
So, thank you very much for sending us that. And we're going to give it a little read. Nicola will probably read it first. And then I'll have a read and we'll get you on the podcast. Brilliant. And we're going to interview Felipe. He's got some brilliant pictures in there. We've just opened it. So it arrived last week. So thank you very much. Nipped through customs with no stress at all. And we've got it here. So we'll give it a read and we'll let you know what we think and we'll get you on the podcast. But I'm not sure if it's live for sale yet. I think it probably must be if he sent us a copy, but do check it out. Maybe I would say a last minute Christmas gift, but this episode is going to come out the weekend after Christmas. But yeah, a wee gift for someone who's a paddler in your life or not a paddler in their life.
To get you through the winter.
Yeah, to get you through the winter. For
those of us in the Northern Hemisphere.
And that segues really nicely into that article you sent me about a Bigfoot attack on Vancouver Island. So we can have a chat about that in the future as well.
I'm busy.
You're busy?
Yeah. Whenever that chat's going to be, I'm busy.
Vancouver Island in British Columbia has some of the wildest and most beautiful stretches of wilderness.
And big feet.
Big feet? I don't think the plural of big feet is Bigfoot. Is Bigfoot, big feet? Oh, I'm lost.
Just don't.
Anyway, Felipe, thank you very much for this. I am sure this is going to be a brilliant book. We haven't read it yet. We've just opened it. But thank you so much for sending us this. And we will get you on the podcast and we'll have another chat. I did interview Felipe on my YouTube channel, which maybe I'll either link below or I'll put up the interview. Actually, I might just upload the interview to our Paddle and Flow channel. Along with some pictures that you took of me looking like a very strange character with my combats with my hat on back to front. You took some pictures of me
when you were doing
yeah. And I looked like a nutter with my headphones on because I can't wear my hat forwards when I've got my headphones on.
You
so I have to wear my hat backwards. I need a different hat.
Yeah.
I need better headphones. But yeah, so Felipe, thank you. We will get to this. And there you go, Nicola.
Thank you.
You can have a read. I'll have a read.
I shall.
I'm going to give it to Nicola to read first, purely because...
What's the excuse? I would like to know what the reason is for this. Why?
You're going to A, read it faster than me.
Oh.
And B, because I'm at work. And I actually have a 2,000-word assignment due.
It's signed. Oh, and stamped. It's really lovely.
And then we're going to give that a read and then we'll...
Sorry.
We'll pass it. We'll get you on the podcast, Felipe, and we'll have another chat. My chat with Felipe last time was brilliant. It was very impromptu. He was knackered after 2 days paddling, 3 days paddling, so I felt a bit guilty. You'll have a bit more time to prepare for this one. But yeah, no, it's great to have you. Great to have you on. So
lovely.
Thank you.
Book's dedicated to all the sea kayakers out there.
Thank you all for your support. I think that's the bottom line. This is a Christmas thank you episode.
That's going to go out after Christmas.
We could put it out on Christmas Day.
Yeah. I mean, assuming the technology is behaving.
Oh yes. Let's not talk about that. That
okay,
was a difficult episode. I'm still editing it. I'm still in the middle of it as well. Like it's still not fixed. I'm hoping that this time we've got those problems resolved.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
If you have enjoyed this episode, please do like it, subscribe it, follow it. Share it with your friends. Comment on it. Make the algorithm want to show it to more people. And have a good Christmas.
Yeah. Happy Christmas.
Or whatever holiday you may or may not celebrate at this time.